Experts believe that the Russian economy, which was boosted by trillions of rubles injected into the military-industrial complex and the army, is slowing down in 2025. Manufacturing capacities are at their limit, the shortage of workers is growing, and exports are failing due to sanctions. Additionally, Moscow's credit policy is hindering business development. Russia is more and more often referring to the beginning of stagflation.
There is a risk that we might enter an unstoppable cycle, where wages drive prices and prices drive wages. It is important to prevent this because such a situation is not very manageable and can only be resolved through a harsh crisis and a severe halt in the economy. Yegor Susin, managing director at Gazprom Bank Private Banking, in a comment to the Moscow Times.
The National Wealth Fund, which the Kremlin has always relied on in times of crisis, is also shrinking. Its liquid assets decreased by a third in 2024, according to Reuters. The year 2025, with accumulating problems and increased sanctions against Russia's shadow fleet, is unlikely to see any replenishment of the fund.
Putin
has enough money left for one more deficit budget, but in my opinion, it is more accurate to say that there's actually nothing left, because the purpose of this fund is to keep reserves for really critical times, like if oil prices fall to $50 or something else happens. And as we understand, this new year is pretty uncertain and risky, with the potential for unexpected, game-changing events.
The maximum pressure on Russian economy if Putin refuses to negotiate peace is a strategy the U.S. president's administration is counting on. According to Donald Trump, Washington is ready to intensify sanctions against Moscow.
He should make a deal. I think he's destroying Russia by not making a deal. I think Russia's going to be in big trouble. You take a look at their economy, you take a look at the inflation in Russia. So I would hope, I got along with him great, and, I would hope he wants to make a deal.
Meanwhile, Reuters, citing several anonymous sources, reports that Putin is concerned about the state of the Russian economy. The Kremlin is ready discussing the need for negotiations, not so much to end the war against Ukraine, but to avoid an economic collapse.
Domestic activity has become strained in recent months by labor shortages and high interest rates introduced to tackle inflation, which has accelerated under record military spending that has contributed to the view within a section of the Russian elite that a negotiated settlement of the war is desirable, according to two of the sources familiar with thinking in the Kremlin, from Reuters publication.
Inflation in Russia is hitting record heights. At the central bank's key interest rate of 21% isn't enough to control it. In the past 15 years, inflation was only higher in 2024, when Russia began its full-scale invasion of Ukraine. So economists are skeptical about the central bank's goal of returning the key rate to 4% by 2026. Reported by Alexandra Zaslavets, Larissa Petruk, UATV News.